All right, all right. So you were just tuned in with DJ Antonio Caesar, and I would love to pass it to the policy coordinator at Faith in Place, Christina Cross, to give us an official welcome to today. Thank you.
Hello, welcome everyone. I am Christina Cross. I'm the policy coordinator for Faith in Place. I'm sitting in here for Pastor Anque, our policy director, who is driving home from Springfield as we speak after a huge legislative victory this afternoon. The Climate and Equity Jobs Act passed the Senate and now moves to the governor's desk. So on behalf of the policy team, we are excited to welcome you to the second evening of our Green Team Summit. I want to take a moment before we start to thank our headline sponsor for the summit, NRDC, and this session's sponsor, Gajero and Tully, Chicago and North Shore Real Estate. I also want to remind you that you can finish the sponsor passport through the link in the bio to be entered for a chance to win $100 gift card to Earth Hero, an online market working to create a healthier planet. I also want to thank all our sponsors and our partners who made this summit possible. And you can learn more about them on our event website, greenteamsummit.org. During the session tonight, we will explore healing practices to reconnect us to the land and water. So often in our culture, we can feel disconnected from each other and the land and water that give us life. Tonight, we will pause to honor the ways we rely on shared land and water. We are interconnected in our dependence and are learning to work together to honor and protect. Today, we stand in the legacy of centuries of the forced expulsion and genocide of Native peoples to take their homelands, the extraction of fossil fuels and minerals, leaving soil and water polluted, and the filling of our waterways with pollutants and plastic waste. Our earth is crying out for care and healing, just like many of us. As people of faith, our traditions and spirituality often teach us to protect and honor our land and water as sacred. Tonight, we will explore practices that help us reconnect with these sacred elements and invite us into practices that care for our shared land and water. As a reminder, tonight's session and all sessions this week are being recorded and will be available along with all the resources shared after the summit on greenteamsummit.org. To open us, I want to share a reflection from the Haudenosaunee people. We now turn our thoughts to the trees. The earth has many families of trees who have their own instructions and uses. Some provide us with shelter and shade, others with fruit, beauty, and other useful things. May people of the world use a tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we send our greetings and our thanks to the tree life. Now our minds are one. As we listen to the stories of connecting to nature, walk among the trees of Heron Pond, and connect to the healing power of water tonight, may our prayers and our yearning for healing be met. Now we'll turn the stage over to Wade Helva, Faith in Place Southern Illinois Outreach Director, for this session's land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Christina. Good evening. I'm Wade Helva, Southern Illinois Outreach Coordinator for Faith in Place, and I'm looking forward to connecting you to the land and to the water tonight. I want to take a moment to honor the Native peoples that have been honoring and caring for both of these for thousands of years. This land acknowledgement will recognize Native people from the Illinois area, but if you're joining from elsewhere, we invite you to check out the resource linked in the chat to learn about the Native communities on whose land your home resides. Faith in Place works throughout the current state of Illinois, which is comprised of the ancestral lands of the Peoria, Kaskaskia, Miami, Mascoutin, Meskwaki, Odawa, Piankashaw, Wea, Sauk, Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Ojibwe, and Chickasaw nations. These nations were forcibly removed from their homeland and fight to survive and maintain their identity. The Trail of Tears runs right through the land that I call home in Southern Illinois. We strive to acknowledge and address the violence and colonization in which our modern society is rooted, and to learn the deeper histories behind the places in which we live, work, and play. Now I would like to turn the stage over to Jenny Judd, Faith in Place's Director of Operations. Jenny is an impressive gardener and has a deep passion for caring for the environment, which she shares with our whole team. Last night, we learned about eco-womanism, and one of the concepts within that perspective is an eco-memory, which Melanie Harris's In Eco-Womanism, African-American Women and Earth-Honoring Faith describes as the collective and individual memory of the earth and relationship to and with the earth. Tonight, I'm excited to share that Jenny will be bringing us into one of her eco-memories as she tells us about how nature has connected her to healing in her own story. Jenny, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Wade. Let me begin by saying that I recognize my white privilege has contributed to the options that I have to connect to nature. Where I grew up and now live in the western suburbs of Chicago, these were options without barriers for my family. My most constant connection to nature is through gardening. I've gardened for many years, and in the last 10 or so years, learned more about the critical importance of native plants in our environment. So my gardening, which primarily is around perennials, has transitioned to including adding more and more native plants, as well as pollinator-friendly annuals. I find working in the garden mentally restful and enjoyable, even the weeding. I like learning about plants and the life they support. This is a creature I only learned about by being in the garden when it zipped past my head. It's called a hummingbird clearwing moth. It's big and incredible looking. And did you know that bur oak support more wildlife than any other tree in Illinois? When I'm taking a break from focusing on what I'm planting or reading, I'm aware of birdsong and the wind in the trees, or the occasional hawk, or this odd looking bird, which I think might be a cardinal, but it doesn't have a crest. I've looked it up and I can't find any reference to it, but it was building a nest and sat on a branch long enough for me to get its picture. In the spring, we watched a persistent pair of robins build a nest on the slope of our downspout. After a week of placing nesting materials, all of which fell off, something finally began to stick, and eventually they were successful in completing their nest and raising 4 babies. I added a bird feeder outside the windows of our family room, and while much of the year the birds have access to plenty of insects and seeds because of the native plants around us, the bird feeder creates a gathering spot where we can easily watch them from inside. When the goldfinches are not feeding on the coneflowers, they can come to the feeder where we can easily see them. In the winter, I'm more mindful of keeping the feeders full, especially when there's snow cover, as that's the most challenging feeding situation for overwintering birds. In the spring, I start looking for early signs, crocuses and other early bloomers. I love the anticipation, going out every morning to see if anything is starting to come through the soil, knowing that something beautiful will be emerging soon. This year, I grew nasturtiums to screen the compost bin. What an improvement. That's something I'll be doing next year, and I get so much pleasure out of seeing this tangle of vines and bright blooms and not seeing the structure of the compost bin. I also love being able to use what's growing in the garden to make flower arrangements for our spring table, for our fall table, flowers to take to family and friends in my favorite mode of transport, which is a 1-gallon container with the spout cut out. I love being able to use evergreens from the yard to make a wreath, and rose hips from roses that originally came from my grandmother's garden. I live with my mom, who's in her 90s, and she is also appreciative of the nature around us. She comments frequently on how much she enjoys whatever is present in the garden at the moment. Being able to share nature with her also feeds my soul. Now I would invite you to join us on a meditative walk through Heron Pond in the Cache River State Natural Area in southern Illinois. This area is a vividly green wetland landscape, home to over 100 endangered and threatened plants and animal species on the Ohio River floodplain. It also happens to be many of our staff's favorite area in Illinois to hike and connect to the land. Our very own Southern Illinois Outreach Coordinator, Wade Halva, filmed this hike on one of his walks through the wetlands. The meditation you will hear is brought to us by Xochitl Perez, who is an environmental educator who works with youth across Chicago and leads meditations to help us feel more at home in our bodies and on this planet. Please join me now. Take a deep breath, relax, walk the path through Heron Pond, and follow the meditation with Xochitl as our guide.
Hello and welcome. My name is Xochitl Perez, and I will be guiding you through this meditation forest bathing experience. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this Green Team Summit, and thank you for your presence. Let's begin by bringing awareness to your breath. By taking your first deep and conscious breath of the day, and then completely emptying out on your exhale. As you continue breathing, notice how your belly rises and falls with each breath. Through our breath, we connect to our first home, our body. Bring your attention to your body, to the space inside. As we ground into our bodies, how does this space feel to you? What begins to relax once you arrive to this space? Allow yourself to adjust in any way as your body is asking at this time. Now I want to invite you on a peaceful and sunny walk through the forest. I invite you to connect with the healing elements of nature. You can either close your eyes or follow the journey on the video. Let's immerse ourselves amongst the trees and the sunshine. Look around you. Take in all of the vegetation. The birds joyfully singing all around you. And the sound of water rushing through a stream. What other sounds do you hear? As you stand there amongst all of this beauty, you feel a gentle breeze brushing against your skin. A smile begins to bloom on your face. Taking your first step forward on this forest path, you take in all that is around you. Breathing in, say to yourself, yes. Exhale and say to yourself, thank you. Let's do this 2 more times. Breathing in and say yes. Exhale and say thank you. Yes. Thank you. As you continue to walk with a consciousness of breath, let's make a connection with our body to the forest floor. Bring your attention to your feet as you walk. How are you walking? Are you stomping? Are your feet heavy on the ground? Or are you walking lightly and gently? Believe it or not, the way we walk and the energy we carry is a form of communication with the earth. When we are worried and stressed, we walk fast and heavy. Whatever worry or stress that might have snuck up on you, start to envision it being swept away with the breeze of the trees. Come back to this moment of grounding and connecting breath and body to the earth. Come back to the sounds of the birds, of the stream, and of the breeze. Feel welcomed and at home in your body and also in this natural space. As you get deeper into the forest, you notice that the air feels different. It feels much cleaner and even a bit sweeter. Taking in a deep breath, you come back and receive this gift of clean air. As you exhale, you say, "Thank you." Coming back into our intention of connecting to our breath, our body, and the earth, you take a couple more gentle steps on the path in front of you. Feel how every step, heel to toe, you are showing your love and appreciation by walking slowly and gently, recognizing that even in the soil, there are millions of life forms, and with each step we walk with kinship. Coming up in front of you, you see a big oak tree, and you walk towards it. The tree invites you to stand in front of it, to connect with it. You close your eyes and place one palm on the tree and the other on your heart. You feel the strength of the tree from the ground up. The tree reminds you to feel your roots, your connection to this earth, and to find your strength. Here you take 3 deep and slow breaths with this majestic species, repeating once more, yes as you breathe in, and thank you as you breathe out. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Smile. Now, begin to wiggle your toes or invite gentle movement back into your body. Slowly blinking your eyes open to the room in front of you. With a smile on your face, take one final inhale, holding it at the top of that breath to think about someone or something you are grateful for. And now exhale with deep gratitude.
Thank you for participating in our meditation. Take your time in coming back to the group. We hope you enjoyed walking through Heron Pond with us tonight. I'm Valerie. I'm a development officer at Faith in Place. And for me, I love meditations like that because it's such a necessary break from the busyness of life. And one of my favorite forms of meditation is from my Catholic upbringing, and it's the rosary. And these, I have two rosaries here. They actually connect me to the land, as this one is made from Job's tears seeds in Rwanda in Africa. And this one here is actually made from the roses at my grandma's memorial services. So rosaries can be very special and meaningful in different ways. But whereas I used to pray, you say a prayer as you touch every bead. And whereas I used to concentrate intently on saying each prayer and thinking about the words as I held each bead, now I just kind of let the beads flow through my fingertips and I speak the prayers, but I put them in the back of my mind and they become like a background sound. So I just then relax. That's in the background. And in the foreground, I relax and I meditate, or I think of everyone I want to pray for, everything I want to pray for. So, and this is wonderful to do outside, especially near the ocean for me. So that's the way that I connect to nature. If you could please share in the chat one way that reconnecting to nature makes you feel. So if you can think about the ways that connecting to nature make you feel. We have alive, liberated, calm. That's how the ocean makes me feel, calm. Courageous, peaceful, can breathe better, a lot of peaceful, spirit-filled, strong, disconnected from everything else, blessed. These are great. So keep those coming. Just so you know, the Heron Pond meditation is going to be made available through the link in the chat. So if you would like to rewatch it at any time, check out the link in the chat. And now, speaking of ocean and water and calmness, we're going to transition to another healing practice, but this time it's going to be exploring the power of water. So I'm going to turn the session over to Isioma, our energy and climate coordinator, Wade, who you heard from earlier, our Southern Illinois outreach coordinator, Pastor Ankwe, who's been busy in Springfield today because he's our policy director, Christina, who's also been busy with the same thing, our policy director, and Veronica, who we all know from last night, is our statewide outreach director. So Veronica, the floor is yours.
Good evening, all. Thank you, Valerie. That was a beautiful meditation. I had to bring myself back. I was really getting a little too relaxed here. Tonight, we will be connecting to our life-giving force, water. It's our healer. We can go without food. We can even go without family and friends. We don't want to, but we can. But we cannot go without water. One of the things we will be doing tonight to celebrate the power of water and its gift to us is called libation. We will be doing a libation ceremony, which has its roots in West Africa and in some other cultures as well. It is a way of using water to honor those who've gone before us, particularly the ancestors. But in many cultures, we do libation in our family with Kwanzaa and gatherings. It's done at funerals now. It's to honor those who have gone before us. It's also to lift up the life we'd like to see, lift up the losses that may have happened, but lift up the life that can come forth. This life force that we have exists, and it will no longer exist if we do not take care of what we have. The ritual involves pouring water into a vessel or potted plant and directly into the earth, if possible. That is our yearning and connection for healing, and that is what it symbolizes. So we at Faith in Place thought, with all the challenges that we have continued to endure this past year and a half, and it looks like another year completely, we're still dealing with the pandemic. And we have also seen the destruction of water, and we've seen the need for water with the wildfires. That we thought we would pause and pay homage to those who've gone before us, those we've lost, and even the things we've lost, and the nature that we've lost, and anyone that has been a source of healing for you during these times. Members of the Faith in Place team will lift up a personal libation, and then I will give a call to all of us that will say, with that, we all say libation. So wherever you are, even with your mics on, when it's time to say, with that, we all say libation, and we give that honor. So before we start the libation, our staff have some things they want to say to us about water. Christina will start us off, and we will go from there.
Thank you, Veronica. Over 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered in water. The ground below our feet is filled with fresh water, and water vapor surrounding the Earth protects our climate, making our planet livable. Inside our body, water hydrates our muscles, allowing oxygen to flow through our body in our blood, regulates our temperature, and keeps us energized. Water is everywhere and in everything, and a requisite and sign of life. Protecting our water sources and ensuring we all have access to fresh and healthy water is one of the more basic needs for life.
And as people of faith, many of us look to water as a source of healing, purification, cleansing, remembrance, rebirth, and our own interconnectedness. In Hinduism, water holds purifying and cleansing powers. In Buddhism, it is a reminder of the serenity and calm, releasing and letting go of the sources of suffering. In Christianity, it symbolizes rebirth and remembrance of baptism. In Islam, water symbolizes wisdom, and connection to it connects us to an awareness of the self.
Water is not only a source of life and an essential element in our faith, but it is a source of healing for many across our history.
Maya Angelou said, "A woman in harmony with her spirit is like a river flowing. She goes where she will without pretense and arrives at her destination, prepared to be herself and only herself."
Zhu described water as fluid, soft, and yielding. Water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. This is another paradox. What is soft is strong.
And Rumi once wrote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop.
Thank you. Tonight, good people, we will practice libation ceremony together to lift up prayers and hopes as we have. Libation will be a way that we honor those who heal, those that we're healing. We'll honor people, we'll honor prayers, and we'll honor our hopes. Our staff will model the ceremony to start, and then we invite you to share your liberations in the chat. Your libations will help to liberate and loosen your spirit, allow us all to embrace them. We will need you all to participate. So even if you don't have a libation, when it's time to say libation, please join us. We will read some of these out as the time allows, and the rest we will lift up as the ceremony closes. Please feel free to share your libation as a sentence in the chat. And it can be of any hope, any prayer, any healing that you have. Liz, our development officer, coordinator, will be there to pour water in her beautiful plants each time a libation is shared, and then together we will say libation. I ask you to please remain on mute, but feel free to say the libation. We will feel it and hear it in spirit out loud as you watch the ceremony. If you brought up a cup of water or a vessel, this would be the time to pour as Liz is pouring. Now we will begin. Christina?
I lift my libation in honor of those whose lives and homes and communities have been changed by too much water from climate-induced flooding and hurricanes.
And with that, we all say libation.
I lift my libation in honor of those who have gone before. I remember those who have gone before and taught me who I should be and who I should not be. There's a great cloud of witnesses that surrounds us all. And this day, I remember those who have pointed the way for me into life and away from death. And we all say,
libation.
I lift my libation in honor of my mother and her mother and her mother's mother, and for all the amazing women who walk beside me as I navigate through this sacred land.
And with that, we all say libation. I take this time to lift up my ancestors who were farmers in rural Alabama, where they grew everything we ate, literally. And I saw water being fed to the hogs and the collard green patch. And that water washed my grandfather's dirty hands with the red dirt under his fingernails as he came to pour water to make the strongest black coffee I'd ever seen that he would drink out of a bowl. And with that, we say libation. Valerie, if there's any libations in the chat, can you please begin to read them out loud? And we will continue to say libation when Valerie reads that particular one.
Yes, from Lori Baldwin, we have, in honor of the continued care for my dear friends, loved ones, and classmates in the hurricanes in Louisiana and Haiti.
And with that, we say libation.
From Kathleen Bradley, my libation water from Lake Erie is for those who could not be here.
With that, we say libation.
Gwendolyn Kirkland lifts libation for healing for Dolores Edgeworth in Christ Hospital.
With that, we say libation.
Catherine and Sarah lifts her libation for all those who thirst for peace and justice still. God have mercy.
With that, we say libation.
From Rich Alton, he lifts his libation to celebrate the amazing life and death of Sally Stovall.
With that, we say libation.
Jenny Judd lifts her libation for the honor of all peoples of the earth, to respect each and every person.
With that, we say libation.
Diana Woodall lifts her libation to ancestors who lived through the Dust Bowl, as well as those who are living with blood or lymph cancer, the liquid in our bodies.
With that, we say libation.
Wade lifts the libation for the parched earth of the burning Western United States.
With that, we say libation.
Gwendolyn Kirkland lifts libation for all the children returning to school.
With that, we say libation.
Cindy Fields lifts libation in gracious gratitude for our beautiful earth.
With that, we say libation.
Chris Foster lifts libation for all suffering from the storms due to the callousness of those producing the most climate change, United States.
With that, we say libation.
Karen Lewis lifts libation for all those in areas impacted by a lack of water, for growing food to feed themselves and make a living, for those who are parched, for those who look to water to quench fires.
And with that, we say libation.
Gwendolyn lifts libation for the unborn.
With that, we say libation.
Pamela Dominguez lifts libation for her parents, husband, and those lost over the last 100 years, for all of us as we navigate through this pandemic.
And that we say libation.
Hope Kyle lifts libation from some of her dear friends and their families in California dealing with the fires.
And with that, we say libation.
Ann White lifts libation for all children of all species.
And with that, we say libation.
Diana Woodall lifts libation for Chris Williamson, who sang "Filling up and spilling over, it's an endless waterfall."
And with that, we say libation.
Sharon and Jack lift libation for the brave Amazonian women who are now standing together in Brazil to uphold their sovereignty over their territories.
And with that, we say libation.
Tom and Betsy Westerhouse lifts up their father who died of COVID last November, but spent most of his 94 years watering and carefully tending to trees and plants and flowers and all forms of flora.
And with that, we say libation.
Darcy Carter lifts up libation for the ancestors whom we don't know their names, who sacrificed it all for us to be here today.
And with that, we say libation.
Gwendolyn lifts libation for the spirit of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery.
And with that, we say libation.
Karen Mears lifts libation for all the souls who were lost on September 11th, 2001.
And with that, we say libation.
Ashley Overton lifts libation for Kira Coles of Chicago and the millions of missing African American and Indigenous women.
And with that, we say libation.
Donna Roberts has libation water from Lake Champlain for all the tears that have been shed for multiple losses experienced due to ecological consequences and the pandemic.
And with that, we say libation.
Lisa Maria Madera lifts libation for the rivers of the Ecuadorian Amazon for protection from oil spills, agricultural chemical poisons, and the toxins of mining.
Let us all say libation.
Judith Ann Church lifts libation for all those California lakes and rivers that are low and forming drought for farmers.
And the people say libation.
Mary Rogers lifts libation to ocean water, salty like our blood, rising as we continue global warming. May we work together for climate justice.
And let us all say libation.
Velma Pate lifts her libations for healing in the body of her brother, Robert Booker.
Let us all say libation.
Janine lifts libations to honor the healing of the Puget Sound waters from the human toxicity for the life of all its creatures, including the humans who live in and from these waters.
Let us all say libation.
Pamela lifts libations for all seeking, needing, and waiting for their healings.
Let us all say libation.
Sally Rings lifts libations for John Shelby Spong, who died yesterday after living a life of great love and witness.
Let us all say libation.
Pastor Anque lifts libation to the Almighty God for his divine protection from COVID-19 and violence throughout the world.
Let us all say libation.
Gwendolyn lifts libation for the work of Faith in Place as it sources us to be good stewards of the earth.
Let us all say libation.
Sasha lifts libations for all those who struggle with addiction and for recovery and renewal of their relationship with the higher power, their inner being, and their loved ones.
And the people say libation.
Thank you everyone for listing their libations in the chat. Unfortunately, due to time, we're going to have to close it there, but I believe I heard that the communications department is going to do something beautiful with all these libations, including the ones that we did not get to say out loud. But we will take those in mind. We pray at every staff meeting on Monday morning, so we will be praying for all of you as well. And stay tuned for what the communications department is going to do with this. I know it's going to be special. Back to Veronica.
I'd like to close us out with one final libation. I'd like for you to be able to join me as we lift up the intentions of Faith in Place during this summit to have us all connect in the wanting of our healing, our renewed hope, our rootness, and our libation to be able to say, we can, as people of faith, make a difference in the rooting and healing of not only ourselves, but our common home. Let us all say libation. Libation. Now I will turn this over to Christina on ways that we are to get involved.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you for joining us in that ceremony, that very meaningful moment of healing today. So to close us out tonight, I want to take a few moments to highlight a few of the many free resources Faith in Place provides for free to support our healing connection with land and water. Everything I share will be linked in the chat and on tonight's resource page for you to explore. If you enjoyed tonight's forest walk, you can rewatch the recording as well as check out more nature walks filmed by our Sustainable Food and Land Use Coordinator, Princess Harris. We also have curriculum and toolkits that you can use to connect with land and food. Our grandchildren's water curriculum is a multi-faith curriculum that presents scientific information alongside questions of faith and ethics surrounding water issues, both globally and local to Illinois. We also have information on how you can start a CSA, which is a community or congregation supported agriculture, and get involved with our Migration and Me program, which works year-round to connect migration stories with stories of the natural world. I also want to take a minute to highlight advocacy around water that we are doing and we need your support on. On August 31st, Governor Pritzker signed the Lead Service Line Replacement and Notification Act into law, making Illinois the third state, next to Michigan and New Jersey, to require full replacement of lead drinking water pipes, which can deliver toxic lead in each glass of water from your tap. Illinois has more lead pipes than any other state in the nation, with nearly 700,000 lines connecting homes to water mains. Black and Latinx residents in Illinois are twice as likely as whites to live in communities with these dangerous lead service lines. Lead is a neurotoxin. There is no safe level of lead exposure. In children, even low levels can lead to learning disabilities, stunted growth, lower IQ, impaired hearing, and behavioral issues. And in adults, lead can increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, as well as reproductive and kidney problems. These serious health problems come with a staggering cost that accrues to all of us in our communities. In addition to the health benefits, replacing lead service lines could help put Illinoisans back to work by generating thousands of good jobs in the skilled trades. Over 20 years, a lead service line replacement project could create over 11,000 jobs per year and over $1 billion in related economic activity, according to an analysis done by the Metropolitan Planning Council. The Lead Service Line Replacement and Notification Act creates a path for resources from federal infrastructure legislation that could require lead pipe replacements across the nation. This critical bill needs funding to protect human health and potentially put tens of thousands of people to work. As Congress considers President Biden's Build Back Better plan, we encourage you to contact your federal legislators and ask them to support investments in clean water and infrastructure. And you can send this petition to your elected officials and ask them to support this important work. The link is provided in the chat. Thank you for taking action with us and continuing to heal our shared land and water. And now I turn it over to Ray Bell, our Director of Programs, who will share our closing words.
Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Ramont Bell, and I am Director of Programs for Faith in Place. I hope you found the meditation and water ceremony healing and encouraging. I'm excited to share with you our next session entitled Healing with Youth, starting at 7 p.m. Central tonight. Our DJ for the session, DJ Antonio Caesar. Caesar is also Faith in Place's amazing youth coordinator, and he will be sharing with you ways Faith in Place youth have experienced healing over the past year. Chetna Matei will lead the audience through a workshop similar to the one she led the youth in during the youth program last year. So please, don't forget, it's not too late to register to join the next session. So if you have any friends or family you know who would like to attend, please invite them. Tell them to register at greenteamsummit.org. And if you can't join us live, we will share the recordings after the summit. I want to thank our headline sponsor for the summit, NRDC, and for this session, Gouchereau and Thule, Chicago, and North Shore Real Estate. I also want to remind you that you can finish the sponsor passport through the link in the bio to be entered for a chance to win a $100 gift card to Earth Hero, online market, working to create a healthier planet. Don't forget, it's not too late to register to join us for tomorrow's session. So if you have any friends or family you know who would like to attend, please invite them and tell them to register at greenteamsummit.org. This is all for this session. I look forward to seeing you at 7 p.m. Central. Please enjoy this break brought to you by our sponsors, the Nature Conservatory, the Field Museum, Open Lands, and Slipstream. Thank you.